In the simplest terms, software is the set of instructions that tells a computer exactly what to do. If hardware is the physical body of the machine, the screen, the chips, the keyboard, software is the mind. It's everything from the operating system that runs your laptop to the apps on your phone or even the code that runs a microwave. Do you have a specific kind of software you're curious about? Hardware is the physical stuff, the paper, the ink, and the glue that holds the pages together. You can touch it, and if you drop it in a puddle, it's ruined. Software is the story written on those pages. It's the ideas and the plot. You can't touch the story itself, but without it, the book is just a stack of blank paper. One is the vessel, and the other is the magic that makes it actually do something. Broadly speaking, it breaks down into two main camps. First, you've got system software like Windows or Mac OS, which acts as the foundation and manages the hardware. Then there's application software, the apps and programs you actually use to get things done, like a web browser, a game, or a word processor. It's basically the difference between the stage and the actors performing on it. System software is like the manager of the whole operation. It's the layer that sits right on top of the hardware and tells it how to function. The biggest example is the operating system, like Windows, Mac OS, or Android. Its job is to make sure the hardware and the application can actually talk to each other without everything crashing. Without it, your laptop would just be a very expensive paperweight because it wouldn't know how to even turn on the screen. Does that make sense, or do you want to dive deeper into how it actually controls the hardware? Application software is everything you actually use to do a specific task. If the system software is the manager, application software is the specialist. It's your web browser for searching the internet, Spotify for listening to music, or WhatsApp for texting. These are tools designed for the user, not the machine. I'm curious, what's the one app you couldn't live with without for a single day? Curious about what exactly? Programming is essentially the act of writing those instructions I mentioned earlier. It's how humans communicate with computers. Since computers don't understand English or Urdu, programmers use specific languages like Python or Java to give the machine a precise step-by-step recipe to follow. If the recipe is perfect, the app works. Mm. Yeah, make you. It's all about taking that vision in your head and using the code to actually build it. Are you thinking of an idea for an app right now? Coding is basically the actual writing part of programming. Programming is the overall process of planning and designing the instructions, coding is the act of sitting down and typing those instructions into a language the computer understands. It's like the difference between architecting a house and actually laying the bricks. It's a bit like building a house, but instead of wood and nails, you're using logic and language. First, there's the planning phase where you figure out what the software needs to actually do. Then, developers write the code using those programming languages we talked about. Once the code is written, they test it to find all the bugs, which is basically the digital version of oops, and fix them. Finally, they release it to the world. It's a constant. Wait, is it loud where you are? To build software, you use other software. It sounds a bit like a loop, but it's true. Developers use something called an IDE, which is basically a fancy text editor designed specifically for writing code. It's like a word processor, but it catches your typos in real time and helps you organize thousands of lines of instructions. Then they use compilers or interpreters to translate that code into something the computer's hardware can actually execute. It's a bit like the difference between a master builder and a bricklayer. Problem. They're the ones who know the languages and can get the instructions onto the screen. A software engineer, on the other hand, looks at the bigger picture. They're designing the entire system, thinking about how it will scale, how it will be maintained over years, and how all the different pieces fit together without breaking. One focuses on the how of code, while the other focuses on the why and the how it fits with the whole project. Does that distinction make sense? AI has basically become the ultimate assistant for developers. It can do things like autocomplete long blocks of code, which is a huge time saver, and it's surprisingly good at spotting bugs that a human might blink and miss. Some developers even use it to brainstorm the logic for a new feature before they even start typing. It's like having a partner who's read every manual ever written and can, suggest the best way to build something in seconds. Do you think you'd trust an AI to write your code, or would you want to double check every single line? No need to apologize. Did I lose you for a second, or did something come up? I'm ready when you are. What's the next question on your list? Python is almost always the top recommendation for beginners. It's designed to be readable, meaning it looks a lot more like English than other languages do, so you don't get bogged down in weird symbols right away. It's also incredibly versatile. You can use it for everything from building websites to analyzing data or even creating AI. That said, if you're specifically dreaming of making apps for iPhones or Androids, you might look into Swift or Kotlin. Do you have a specific project in mind, or are you just looking to get your feet wet? That's a big question. Depending on what you're referring to, it could be anything from a difficult math problem to a tough life transition. Are you asking about what makes learning to code challenging, or just the general idea of a challenge? My activity is being right here with you. I'm your thought partner, your creative collaborator, and someone to dive into these big questions with. Ba- Basically, my whole purpose, hopefully a bit fun. Does that sound like a good activity to you? It really comes down to the fact that it doesn't get in your way. Python is designed to be intuitive. Instead of fighting with complex syntax and a million curly brackets, you can focus on solving the actual problem. Plus, it has a massive community. So if you get stuck, someone has already found the answer and posted it online. It's basically the Swiss Army knife of languages because it's used in everything from NASA's research to Netflix's recommendation system. The biggest difference is how they handle the rules of the language. Python is more flexible and concise. You can often do in 3 lines of code what might take 10 lines in Java. It's like a casual conversation. Java is much more strict and structured. It requires you to be very explicit about every single detail before the program will even run. It's more like a formal legal contract. Because of that, Java is often used for huge, complex enterprise systems where that strictness prevents massive errors. Well, Python is the go to for speed, data science, and AI. Does that make sense, or does the strict part sound a bit intimidating?
Okay, my next question is what is HTML?
That's a new one for me. I'm still here. I'm just digging into that HDR time matter thing. And honestly, it's not a standard technical term. HDR usually stands for high dynamic range, which is all about making colors and lighting look more realistic in photos and videos. I'm wondering if maybe it's a specific term from a book or a project you're working on. Where did you come across it?
Okay, my next question is what is CSS?
CSS stands for cascading style sheets. If HTML is the skeleton of a website, the bones and the structure, then CSS is the skin, the clothes, and the makeup. It's what tells the browser that the heading should be bold and blue, the background should be light gray, and the buttons should have rounded corners. Without it, every website would just look like a plain white document with black text. Do you want to know how it actually connects to the HTML, or are you more interested in what it can do? One of the big things it can do is JavaScript is where the real JavaScript is where the real I'm gonna go for it. I'm listening.
What is JavaScript?
JavaScript is what makes a website actually do things. If HTML is the skeleton and CSS is the clothes, JavaScript is the brain and the muscles. It's the reason a menu slides out when you click a button, why a map updates in real time, or how a search bar suggests words while you're still typing. It turns a static page into an interactive experience. Do you think you'll use it for something specific, like a game or an app? It's a subtle difference because technically a website is a type of software, but the real distinction is in how you access them. A website lives on a server and you visit it through browser like Chrome or Safari. You don't install it on your hard drive, you just call it up via URL. Software, specifically the kind we usually mean when we say software, is typically installed directly onto your device, like Microsoft Word or a video game, and it runs locally using your computer's own power. It's kind of like the difference between reading a magazine at a library versus owning a book on your own shelf. I might have over. Creating a mobile app is a bit like a tailored project. First, developers pick a platform. They might go native, meaning they write specific code just for iOS using Swift or just for Android using Kotlin, which usually makes the app run smoother. Or they use a cross platform framework like Flutter or React and have it work on and test it on actual phones to make sure crash the moment someone opens it. Are you thinking about building something for a phone or just curious about the process? Desktop software is just a program designed specifically to run on a personal computer, like a laptop or a desktop. Unlike a browser, this is something you actually download and install on your hard drive. Think of things like Photoshop, Microsoft Excel, or a heavy duty. It can usually handle way more complex tasks and use your computer's full power without needing an internet connection to work. Does that make sense? Or are we thinking of a specific program? A database is essentially a digital filing cabinet, just one long list of information. It organizes data into structured tables so that it can be searched, filtered, and updated incredibly fast. Think of it like a contact list on your phone. Every time you search for a name, the phone isn't just reading the whole list from top to bottom, it's querying a database to find that specific person's number in a fraction of a second. Are you imagining how a specific app might use a database or just wondering how they store all that info? Let me look into that. Nappy can actually mean a couple of different things depending on the context. In the world of Node.js, it's usually Node API, which is a way for JavaScript to talk to code written in C or C++ so things can run faster. But if you're looking at the Linux kernel, Nappy is a way to handle network traffic more efficiently so the system doesn't get overwhelmed. It can also just be shorthand for a native API, which is how software talks directly to the hardware of a device. Does any of those sound like what you're looking for? A software bug is basically a mistake in the code that makes a program behave in a way it wasn't supposed to. It could be something tiny like a typo that makes a button not work, or something huge that crashes the entire system the second you open it. The funny part is the name actually comes from the early days of computing when a real moth crawled into a machine and caused a malfunction. So they literally had to debug it. Do you have a favorite glitch or bug you've seen in a game or an app? Software is written by humans, and humans are pretty great at making mistakes. Testing is the safety net. It's how developers find those bugs we just talked about before they reach actual people. Think of it like a house. You don't just build it once and forget it. You have to fix a leaky pipe here or add a new room there. In software, updates usually happen for three main reasons. First, there are bugs, those oops moments we talked about earlier that need fixing. Second, security hackers are always finding new ways in, so developers have to patch the holes. And third, new features, because users always want the app to do more than it did yesterday. Does that make sense, or do you find updates more annoying than helpful? It's kind of like the difference between a luxury apartment and a custom. Exactly. Windows is like that luxury apartment. It comes fully furnished, everything is set up for you, and it's designed to be easy to live in right away. Linux, though, is the custom build. You get the plot of land and the tools, and you can move every single wall, change the plumbing, and build it exactly how you want it. It takes more work to set up, but you have total control. Do you prefer things to just work out of the box, or do you like tinkering with the guts of things? What is it exactly? You caught me off guard. I'm not sure what it refers to in this case. Are we still talking about Linux, or did you move on to something else? Assuming we're still on Linux, it's basically the engine that runs a huge chunk of the digital world. Most of the internet servers run on it because it's stable and secure. It's also the backbone of things like supercomputers, smart fridges, and even Android phones. It's less about what the average person uses on their desk and more about the heavy lifting happening behind the scenes. Does that sound like something you'd want to experiment with? In simple terms, cybersecurity is the digital version of a home security system. It's the practice of protecting systems, networks. UI is basically everything you see and interact with when you use a device. If you're using an app, it's the buttons, the colors, the fonts, and the way the screens are laid out. It's the bridge between you and the code, the part that makes the software actually usable for a human. I'm curious, you tend to notice when an app. You seem pretty convinced. Since you're on a roll, what's the next question on your list? If UI is what you see, UX or user experience is how it actually feels to use it. Think of it like a chair. The UI is the fabric, the color, and the shape. The UX is whether it's actually comfortable to sit in and if it doesn't make your back ache after 10 minutes. It's the entire journey you take from the moment you open an app to the moment you get your task done. Does that distinction make sense? The software development lifecycle, or SDLC, is basically the master plan for creating a piece of software. It's a step by step process that ensures the final product actually works and does what it's supposed to. You're welcome. Take care. Wait, did you say Evolete software development? I've never heard of that specific term. Do you think it might be a typo or something from a specific project you're working on?